Hey, what's up, guys? This is Church of Caboose, and welcome back to my corner of the internet. In this video, I'm going to share with you guys a dirty little secret about trials that means you don't have to get a single kill or a win to eventually acquire all of the gear inside of Trials of Osiris. This video is brought to you as requested by clanmate Mountain Fiend. He and I have been playing Trials together the last 2 weekends, get a couple of wins, and today he was like, oh my god, how do I not know about this thing that you were telling me about? This is really cool. And then he brought up a very excellent point that his friend didn't know about this, and I've had big streamers and stuff from our clan be like, dude, what in the world are you talking about? Because all of this was discussed on my stream. So if you're not sure what that is, check it out. It's the same as my YouTube channel, so just hit that bell, subscribe to my channel, and like the video in order to help me out and help yourself out. So let's go ahead and talk about what this dirty little secret is. In Trials, you can acquire the entire Trials gear other than Adept without being able to get a single kill or even a win. You don't have to really be able to do anything. You can be the world's worst PvP player and still get all of the loot. You just have to be down to get your cheeks clapped a little bit. So how does this work? Well, you need to get the weekly bounty called Endgame from Saint 14. Once this bounty is completed, you do not have to get wins, you just have to complete matches. It is 10% for a loss, 25% for a win. Once that bounty is completed, you acquire the third win loot reward from Trials. So for example, the weekend of March 19th, which happens to be the hammer, which is the third win reward, you can get 6 hammers if you're able to get all 3 of those bounties completed, 1 each character, as well as the 3 wins. But if you can't get the wins, you can still get 3 of those hammers. And once you have turned in that bounty, you can also turn in your tokens, which means you can farm for the hammer or anything else you have acquired, because every time you unlock a piece of Trials gear, it falls into your loot pool, which means you are able to forever farm for those roles by just getting tokens. Unfortunately, getting tokens requires being able to do things like getting bounties. So if you can't even get a kill, that's okay, but perhaps just restrain your scope a little bit to not including all the bounties and just do those 3 wins whenever there's a piece of gear that you do not currently have. So let me just go ahead and show you guys some proof of how this all works. So here is my hunter. I happen to have completed the 3-win bounty, as I like to call it, or aka the endgame bounty, last week when the Igneous Hammer was the 5th win reward. I didn't really care for the 3rd win reward, so I just kind of hung on to it. So I'm using this character to prove to you guys how this works. So you can see as at Saint 14, the tokens were lost, I wasn't allowed to turn anything in, and here you see me hovering over the completed bounty called Endgame. You can see there, it says it rewards you a Trials engram, some Trials tokens, as well as some rank and other things. Turn that in, boom, that's the 3-win reward for the weekend of March 19th, the Igneous Hammer. Then I can go over and look, I can turn in those tokens. I only had 5 because that's all I had left because I'd already turned them all in on my first character. And then I grabbed all of the bounties as well as the passage, just to give you guys more proof that I had not played Trials yet. I did not have anything unlocked. I just went in there, turned in my previous week's 3-win reward, and then claimed my Passage of Mercy, and that roll ended up actually being really good. So that's proof of how this thing works. Now, why in the world would you guys want to use this method? Now, the rest of this video is pretty much going to be me talking about why this is effective, because YouTube suppresses things that are not 10 minutes long. So if this is all you wanted to know, great. Turn it off, leave a like button, subscribe to my channel. This video is basically done. The rest of this is going to be me sharing my opinions about folks that say things like the Trials loot isn't accessible, because this factually proves that it's completely accessible to even like someone who can't even hit a barn with a rocket launcher. So let's go ahead and resume that portion of this video. So let's just talk about this whole 3-win bounty, aka what's really called the endgame bounty reward system, because a lot of folks seem to just not know it exists. So hopefully, since you've watched this video, you're like, oh my gosh, I can get all the weapons and the gear, I just have to wait for the loot. The really hard part about this strategy is you're going to spend a lot of the time, just getting your teeth kicked in, which is unfortunately the truth for most people inside of trials. So if you're like, my gosh, I hate trials, it's no fun, losing all the time, well, you know what? You gotta find a way to make it fun. For me, I'll find friends where we just can just laugh, people that are good natured, because sometimes I can get more kind of stressed out about it. Some of the people like Mountain Fiend and some others that are able to be more kind of chilled and relaxed about it. It's not as bad. You want to find folks that can, instead of being like, oh my god, stasis killed me again, that can just be like, ha, 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 sobbing internally inside of a small state of depression. Like, that's the kind of stuff you want to be, associating with more in trials, especially if you're going for things like that end game bounty, because you're like, well, at least I can get the 3-win reward. That's going to really help you guys out a whole lot. Just gotta kind of get used to losing. But one big upside to this strategy is you don't get better at Crucible by not playing Crucible. So when folks are like, trials are so stupid, I'm never going to get good at it, so why would I play it anyways? I'm like, if you just play it more often, eventually you'll get better at it. Sure, things take a lot of time. Change does not happen overnight. You ask Arnold Schwarzenegger, did he come out of his mom inside of Belgium looking just like the bodybuilder he did in his prime? Absolutely not. It took years of hard work, dedicated hours, and things of that nature to get to where he was at the peak of his lifting career. And let's be honest, the guy's probably in better shape than most of us for like the entirety of his life so far. So that's just kind of the same mentality you want to try and do with Crucible. Now, obviously, I know not all of us, myself included, can spend hours a day playing Crucible, and that's also not very fun. So I'm just saying, might as well get some good practice in if your mindset's going to be all about trying to get that 3-win reward. Some stuff you could try to do is to use the meta. I don't know why there's people that are like, oh, well, this weapon's really good, but I think it's cheap, so I'm not going to use it. I'm like, well, I mean, unless you're doing just fine without it, like, why not give it a shake? Look, I hated auto rifles when they were absolutely king from Season of the Worthy through Season of Arrivals. Absolutely hated them. My hand cannon time is here. Woohoo! Like, finally here. But I still used those auto rifles when I wanted to get wins. When I didn't care, or I was like, you know what, screw the meta, I used other stuff, and I almost always regretted it. So, take advantage of this whole farming the bounty thing to get some wins. Now we're going to kind of talk about why this whole thing really grinds my gears. And it's because I feel like folks that talk about trials are expecting themselves just to win and expecting themselves just to succeed all the time. And that's just not how it works. For some people, sure, absolutely. They probably are just significantly better naturally at playing video games, and so it works out better for them. And then there's other folks that will find ways of milking the internet and whatnot, so it doesn't even matter if they're good or not. Then you got probably the vast majority of us poor bastards that are like, you know what, I got too much integrity to do the whole like internet manipulation, so we're just going to go ahead and just try and get better legit and get our wins. And that is definitely the best camp to be in. Because you want to know who makes fun of me for not having adept weapons? Currently, nobody. But I'm now realizing as I said that, who knows, there could be a comment down below making fun of me for not having an adept hammer, but I don't care, because I had a lot of fun while going for all of these things. I really hope this kind of like overview helps you guys out. I get so frustrated when people are like, the weapons and the gear are not accessible to everybody. I'm like, what else do you want Bungie to do? Just literally drop them off in your postmaster? Because all you got to do is grab the passage, grab the weekly bounties and whatever other bounties you might feel like using, and just suffer through it. Do your best to have a good time, maybe get a little bit better, and eventually that weekend you will have the reward. One of the last tips I want to leave you guys with is if you're trying to have an easier time at getting some wins, try to pay attention to what the loot rewards are. For example, the Messenger Pulse Rifle and the Hammer Hand Cannon, the Igneous, whatever, the Ignoramus Hand Cannon, those are really desired weapons. Armor is going to probably be something that folks that care about getting full armor sets are going to care about. So if you kind of pay attention to things like the weapons, what's coming up when, you might have an easier time getting some wins, or at the very least just having a little bit more fun, because things might be every now and then better balanced, because the more people that are playing, the more likely it is for you to run into a team where you don't absolutely get your cheeks clapped every single time. Now, will they still be hurting most of the time? Absolutely. I have this old thing I've learned so far about trials. When the population is healthy, the win-loss rate of the first game is going to probably be around 50%. That's probably about on par with the matchmaking as it's currently set up for quick play. But when our population is low, like a cap currently is, that first game tends to be incredibly difficult and oftentimes more sweaty than the rest of the card until you hit maybe win 5 through 7. So if you can at least just hang in there often enough, eventually you will get a team that is either at your skill level or is just throwing matches. I had 2 games where you loaded in, the other team just killed themselves because they didn't want to deal with it. Apparently they hate trying to get better and putting up with some pain. They just killed themselves and that was it. And that, for one of our cards, got us over the hump and into the realm where the teams aren't as sweaty. I don't know if this is because people think farming 1 token for 1 win and getting 20 of those is more efficient than just playing out the card. I don't know, but it's what I have learned in my experience. Alright guys, I really appreciate you all so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, like the video, comment down below. That kind of interaction really helps me to know what sort of stuff you guys like to see. I would also love to know if this is new information for you all, because that's why I made this video. You guys are all fantastic. If you need a community, join my Discord server down below for the Vengeful Destiny/gaming community, and we'll have a good old time. I am Church of Caboose. Have a great week and happy grinding, y'all.